Hey, how you doing, listeners? This is another episode of Servant of Comics. This is we're talking The Last of Us, season two, which is adapting part two. And with me today on this sunny, humid afternoon, are some friends of mine that agreed to talk The Last of Us for the show. Um, yeah, to my left, I have Eric from Eric the Mage. How you doing, Eric?
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
Good to have you back. And
Pleasure to be
no,
back.
yeah. And then another former coworker of mine, worked with him on quite a few shows. Always good to chat, like comic books or just like history, and everything in between. Welcome to the show, CJ.
Hey, thank you for having me. Welcome to be, very happy to be here and excited to talk about this with you guys.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, this was a very loaded season, but yeah, CJ, this is your first podcast, so if you want to do the honors, we usually ask people just before we start recording if they're, since it's comic books, if they're reading anything or even watching anything.
Oh, I mean, God, I'm going through so many things right now. Like I've been just production work has been slow lately. I mean, I'm sure you guys know that difficulty all too well right now. But
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Criminally
uh
underemployed right now.
yes, absolutely. I've been trying to get through like my backlog of shows, books, games. I just finished Righteous Gemstones recently. That was a blast. Really enjoyed that. Fucking hilarious show. Um, and I'm working on my 17th book of the year. I have my
Hmm.
list here, but um, as far as comics like ongoings, I'm really enjoying the Absolute stuff from DC right
Oh,
now. Those
nice.
are some
Yes.
really cool reimaginings of some very classic characters. Um, I also just adore Immortal Thor. Like I'm a big fan of Al Ewing, just like the continuity god. Like
Yes.
yeah, Immortal Hulk was amazing, and Thor is one of my like favorite Marvel characters. So that was getting to see that sort of treatment given to the mythology of a character that I just adore the hell out of is awesome.
Yeah, I feel bad for Al, because I heard his Thor book is really great, but he's kind of like he's making the best of what he can with Venom as well too, right?
I haven't
Hmm.
gotten to check that one out just yet.
Okay, I don't want to spoil anything, but
Mm.
some yeah, the editorial decisions for some of the Spider-Man books are
Mhm.
I
not so great.
I'm gonna stay out of spoilers and just say this in the most vaguest terms possible. I I both I understand the change. I don't hate the change, but
Mm,
I don't like the change.
okay,
Okay.
so you're like very neutral about it.
Yeah, I'm very cautiously pessimistic, I guess.
You're
Uh
Okay.
waiting to see where the chips will fall.
yeah. I'm
Yeah, I've
waiting
been
for
there.
it to be a definitely glass half empty on that take.
Hmm.
Speaking of weird takes,
Yeah.
as
Oh
we're talking
yeah.
about Doctor Who,
Oh my God, yeah, that
Okay.
that was a thing that happened last night that I got to tell you about, which was really fun.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm completely blank on Doctor Who. I don't watch Doctor Who. Not to say I don't like Doctor Who, but I just it seems like a lot to get into
It
I'm,
is.
backstory. But it seemed like there was
it's a lot
uh,
of
a lot.
continuity and
Yeah, there was a lot of shock when he regenerated, right?
Yes.
yeah, the
So
newest regeneration.
yeah, for those who don't know, the Doctor is an alien called a Time Lord. He just looks human, but Time Lords, when they are fatally injured, can regenerate. Their body is repaired, but in a new configuration, and it's basically an engine that allows them to replace the actor playing the Doctor periodically and let the show keep going without there being any sort of continuity problem. Um, the most recent Doctor, Ncuti Gatwa, um, wrapped up his run on the show, and the I I guess I don't know if this is like a thing that I should like be vague about for the sake of like not spoiling people who don't already know. But I feel like if you care about this, like it has come out in some form or another. But like, long story short, and I'll just err on the side of vagueness for caution's sake, the choice for regeneration, like the new actor, is bizarre.
Okay.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, we can say that it's an actor who previously appeared in the series,
Yes,
and like
was not just someone who showed up in the series, but was a major part of it for several seasons.
yeah, like with Peter Capaldi, like he first appeared as like a character before he was like one of the, the avatars for regeneration. But the fact that, this is now a love interest, like a main
Yeah,
character who has been there since like the ninth and tenth Doctor, it's
yeah.
like did it's weird.
It is really strange, and I'm not sure what the logic of that is going to be, or like how that's going to shake out in the long run. But
I'm here for it.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, we were
Uh,
talking about it yesterday, and
Yeah.
like we were explaining this to another friend of ours who isn't really into Doctor Who, and the explanation that we gave was basically imagine watching all of just imagine watching the Star Wars original trilogy and prequels, and when you get to Return of the Jedi, when Vader's helmet gets taken off, it's Padme under the helmet. Like that's the equivalent of what happened. So it's like, what?
Yeah.
yeah.
That kind of not knowing anything about all the backstory and everything, that was a good analogy for
Yeah.
my brain to get it. So seemed yeah, it seems even more bizarre now.
It is
Yeah.
very weird.
I can go on and on about this
Yeah.
one decision because it's like is like because yeah like okay, so it was Rose Taylor, and like she appeared back in like the Ninth Doctor and Tenth Doctor eras, and like yeah, she was a love interest of the Doctor, but like we've seen her backstory that it's like she's not a Time Lord, the original version, so it has to
Yeah.
be that this is the Doctor like taking on the form of what Rose looks like. So that's just a very weird, like, did he never get over her and like now he's like making himself look like her?
Yeah, or is it just a complete random happenstance, which of just like literally all the configurations that like a human being's like physicality can have, it just happens to look like the actress Billie Piper who played the character Rose Tyler? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, yeah, that's a very strange decision.
Yeah. Speaking of, things that prompt a lot of debate online, maybe we should get to what we were here to talk
Yeah,
about.
yeah, we'll go into the Last of Us discussion. So,
I don't know what you're talking about. Every single person loved The Last of Us
or,
2 in
yeah,
both the video game and the TV series, and there's not a single controversial moment in any of it,
yeah,
especially
very
development.
very normal reactions from normal people, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But the game, which was Last of Us Part 2, came out during COVID, was kind of a good, well, I don't know, it's a game about a pandemic, but maybe it was a good escape from how, things were at the time. But how was it playing the game for you guys? Because that was like one of the last games that I got for PS4, and I was mainly enjoying it the whole time. I didn't have too much. I wasn't too outraged by anything. I thought it was pretty solid. But
Oh yeah. It's I thoroughly enjoyed the second game. Like the first one is a masterpiece in my opinion. And like weirdly enough, like back in film school, like we dissected the first game in film school to teach us about storytelling and like about how character motivations, because it's like everything is always built up to, that last lie.
yeah,
Like
Mhm.
everything of the game is all built up to just like is he willing to lie to this little girl and say, yeah, no, everything's okay when the world isn't?
Mhm.
And like that is just beautiful storytelling that like crosses every single medium.
Yeah.
And this game, like, and part two was the direct continuation, the direct fallout of that lie, of that story. Where does it go from here?
The
Mhm.
aftermath of it.
Yeah,
Hmm.
definitely. I playing through it, the pandemic connection didn't really bother me at that point because like
Yeah.
I played through the first one and then like, I don't know, like the second one is much less about the like, infection destroying the world and more about the human drama in a world that's been like broken by it. So it
Mhm.
like that didn't, mess with me in that way.
Right.
But um for me, I really enjoyed a lot of the gameplay changes. I really liked the, new weapons, new mechanics, just
Hmm.
little things that kept the gameplay loop like fresh and fun. Um, I enjoyed the new setting. I think there were a lot of like really interesting characters brought into the fold. And I think it was interesting to see that lie kind of, shown from the inverse and, explore the story of revenge, even if ultimately how it ended up, I didn't really enjoy the finish to it. Um, I enjoyed the vast majority of that ride a ton of the way, and even though like it didn't stick the landing for me, I still
Hmm.
think it's like very, very good game. Just definitely not deserving of the level of intense psychotic hatred that it got.
Yeah, a lot of scrutiny.
Yeah.
Um, over Joel's death,
Yeah.
and I guess also I would say playing as Abby,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
I felt very terrified for the actress who plays Abby on the show
Oh my
until
Yeah.
God.
the next couple
Yeah.
seasons. Yeah,
I the moment they're like we're doing this, I'm like Godspeed to whoever gets that role, and I mean hopefully I believe it's Caitlin Dever, Caitlin Dever. I don't know how to
yeah,
pronounce her
that's how
name,
you
but
pronounce it.
Dever.
oh, Dever. Okay. Yeah.
Mhm.
Hopefully, she has not had to deal with too much bullshit directly.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
I also wish people would stop being weird about, the casting of Ellie this season because I feel like it was much more intense right now compared to like when Bella Ramsey was initially cast
Mm.
in that role for season
Yeah, they were perfectly casted as Ellie, and like just seeing them like age into the role, it works perfectly from, the like seeing Ellie as, the young little girl to, like the more of an adult, like Bella did a great job portraying them.
one.
Yeah, I think Bella was really great. The weird reactions to it feels like almost like one, it's like media illiteracy
Yeah.
because some of the criticisms are like on scenes where Bella is talking to Jacksonville, like why Jacksonville should go after Joel's killers, and Ellie kind of purposely does like a I don't know, kind of like an act, like that's just supposed to, like just saying what they want to
Mm.
hear, even though Ellie's gonna do it anyway. So that was kind of the point of that scene, and you see all these people like just like complaining, and it's like I don't think you watched the scene properly.
Yeah, although
Yeah.
I feel like most of the complaints have just been about like Bella not like physically resembling the in-game model for
Adaption,
Ellie
yeah.
enough, which is I don't know. It to me it's
Oh no.
dumb. It like the characters don't need to like physically one-to-one map if you can, embody the spirit of that
Hmm.
character. And
If they're a good enough
like
actor.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they're
And
really good.
also like I don't really think there's too there are times where, someone being, you know, different physically can kind of change who they are. Like if a character is suddenly played by like a much bigger human being, than they were in another piece of media that kind of changes their relationship to people and how they can solve problems a little bit. Uh, but in the case of this, it just seems like they're like, oh, Bella Ramsey isn't like, I don't find them like as attractive as I find the in-game model for Ellie, which I'm like, that's a really weird
They're
thing to
Yeah,
get hung
they're
up
supposed
on.
to be a
And
little girl. Like,
yeah,
yes,
that's just weird
calm
and
your
creepy.
ass down.
yeah, people are really weird about that sort of thing, and it's just like gross to me.
Yeah.
I will say, I think Bella Ramsey is an amazing actor. I think they did a phenomenal job in season one. I didn't I struggled a little bit with Ellie this season, but I don't think it was their performance as much as it was like the direction that the character's writing.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, the some of the writing I felt yeah,
There
I don't
were
know. Yeah, some of it I did disagree on with. What were you gonna say, Eric?
Yeah, like there are some more writing changes that like I'm definitely going to get into this later on. But yeah, it's just like there's there was one slight deviation from the first season, and because of that slight deviation, like everything's kind of spread out.
Mhm. Well,
Uh,
it's that, but I think for me, one of the things is like with Ellie specifically, the way that her dialogue is written,
mhm.
she comes off as more golden retriever, as in
Mm,
like energetic but not particularly bright than
mhm.
like the in-game version felt to me. Like,
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, the character just like jumps first before looking, right?
and it's not even
Yeah,
like impulsivity is definitely a thing with Ellie, but it's just like I I don't know, like the game version of Ellie, to me felt like someone with a much better handle on how to like deal with the situation, like than the show version. Not to say that the show version is not capable, but is definitely someone who like looks before they leap to
Yeah.
such an extent that it's like, oh, you're just doing stupid shit all the time.
Yeah.
like the
Yeah, that's a
final
little
episode, like there was like that moment where it's like, oh, the little girl from like the cult is, being like dragged off by the wolves, and it's like Ellie gets mad at Jesse, like, hey, we need to go save that little girl, and Jesse's like, calm your ass down. Like we can't just immediately like there's just two of us versus like 30 of them. We can't just
Mhm.
do that.
Yeah.
yeah. It's like very, very impulsive that's their characterization of Ellie. So that was yeah, interesting. Wouldn't quite yeah, some of the writing didn't quite do it justice. I'll say that.
Yeah.
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 And again, I feel like that is more of a scripting and direction thing than it is necessarily Bella Ramsey, because I do think they really nailed Ellie like portrayal in the first season, where Ellie is someone who is like, naive because she hasn't
She's supposed to be
been
14.
yeah, she's young. She hasn't been out in the world, so she hasn't like seen or experienced these threats. It's all, like boogeyman stories to her, basically,
Yeah.
at the beginning. And then, she is still precocious. She's quick on the uptake. She's kind of a smart ass. Uh, and, just very enthusiastic and excited. So, like, and I think Bella nailed like all of those different aspects to her character in her season. And I don't think the writing was quite as like sharp for Ellie as a character this time around.
Yeah.
So I don't think it was bad writing, honestly. It's
No.
just not what that character is to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a well, yeah, that's a good way to put it, I would say. Speaking of like original adaptions, just from the game when you first played through the first playthrough, Joel's death, anyone see that coming? Kind of felt like some dread.
I I love that in video games. Like anytime like you're playing as the main character, and then just like suddenly you just fucking die. Like
Yeah.
it
I
it always blows my mind because you're always like every game you play, it's like Super Meat Boy. It doesn't matter if you die like 10 million times, you're eventually gonna get to the final challenge. But it's like when you don't.
Hmm.
Mhm.
And it's like yeah, because it was like in the cutscene, like that's one thing. But like when it's like Halo Reach, where it's just like objective survive.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
those moments, like
Yeah.
when we play as like Kratos getting killed by Thor, and it's like at the very, and then it's like it just goes to the normal death animation, and then Thor's like, "Nope, you're not done yet. Get back here."
Oh my God, yeah, that moment in God of War, like I marked the fuck out. I was just on my couch, just but
Yeah.
yeah, with Joel's death, I definitely could like feel the tension on the horizon. Like they did a really good job of like all
Hmm.
the little like demeanor changes for Abby and just like hesitations going on like a little bit too long. And then like when the shoe dropped, it was like, like you could tell something was wrong, and then it goes off, and you're like, oh man, this is like a bad situation. But you kind of hope, maybe Ellie and, maybe the cavalry can arrive and, turn things around here. But no, it's too little
They
too
don't.
late. And like it was heartbreaking, like because, you spent so much time with these characters, and it sucks to see someone that you have gotten invested in get killed, especially when like this relationship that was so central to the game is in this like rocky place at the start, and you don't have that closure. And I can see why it's upsetting, because like it is upsetting, but at the same time, that's good storytelling too,
Yeah.
because that shit happens.
Hmm.
Like you can lose people and never get a sense of closure or clarity. And I think it being so abrupt and horrible, is all the more reason that Ellie is gonna go on that fucking, just single-minded quest for revenge.
Yeah. Also,
It's it,
yeah.
it's showing that there's no plot armor. It's like
Hmm.
anything can happen. Like, sure, we love that about Game of Thrones, but eventually, when they kill off all the characters that don't matter and it's just down to the last few, then it starts to become a problem.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, showing that this is a horror game.
Mhm.
Characters will die.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Very, very like bold choice, especially in a video game
Oh
as
yeah.
well. Yeah. I would say. Yeah. Yeah, as a, you're as like he was the main character in the first game, did not see that
Yeah.
coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's also great for you as well, because like like I think for like a gameplay and storytelling perspectives, because like Ellie in the first game, when you played with her as your character, uh, it was a really vulnerable position. Like
Mhm.
it was intense, it was scary. You could not do things
Hmm.
that you could as Joel. Like threats were
Yeah.
significantly heightened. And while Ellie is, much more capable this time around because she's older and more experienced, um, you losing Joel is, you losing this sense of security.
Yeah. No, yeah, that was a big narrative turning point, especially in that game.
It's
But
like
you really well put.
it's like Super Metroid, when you're playing and it's like you like at the very beginning of the game when you have like all of the like items and suit and all that and you're just going through and then you lose all the items and you have to start from
Mhm.
nothing.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
And
playing Joel then to Ellie. It's
yeah,
that
and
feeling.
yeah, and I think one of the other things as well that, makes this an extra, fun little wrinkle is, when you're playing as the main character and you die for real, suddenly that is no longer off the table in any capacity.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed like those layers of tension getting added on, because one of the things that made that first game so much fun for me was how tense every single fight felt. Because so many games where gunplay is a big part of it, you get to this point where you are mowing down people in 20s and 30s, and there's no tension to fight really. But with Last of Us, it is fuck, there's like three of them. And so making you feel more vulnerable in both, a meta narrative and, within the narrative sense by getting rid of Joel, I think that did a lot to like bring that sense of just like, I have to be on it, back to it for me.
Yeah, because it's like it's at the heart of it, like The Last of Us is still a horror game. Like this is still a horror franchise, like built on,
Survival horror, yeah.
Yeah.
the survival horror aspect. And like for the most part, like take the game Dead Space. Love the game, phenomenal franchise, great. Except when you die, now you get to do that exact thing from the last save point, but now you know where the enemy's going to be.
Mm.
You no longer have that fear in playing the game. Like the only games that can really do this well are like The Quarry, where
Mm.
like, the game will shift if you make one tiny mistake. And like you
Yes.
can't really go back because it's constantly saving every millisecond.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't like turn off the game and yeah.
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 Tried that
Alien,
before.
Alien Isolation also did a good job of it just because the xenomorph AI could like will have it show up fucking anywhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, you just constantly lived in fear of just seeing that like KY jelly drip from a vent and just being like,
Nope,
oh
nope, nope, nope,
no, no,
nope,
no, no, no,
nope,
no, no,
nope.
no, 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 no,
Yeah.
backing out of this room. Like,
A lot of anxiety thinking of that game.
yeah, yeah,
Oh man, Alien
Yeah.
Isolation.
Yeah, and The Last of Us pulled it off.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
I think
killing
so.
Joel set that stake.
Yeah,
Mhm. Yeah.
yeah, I would agree. And yeah, the some of the fans reacting to it, be damned. I liked the choice that they made. But
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely divisive, which,
yeah.
like,
Cool character. I love Joel,
yeah,
but
Hmm.
like he only really exists in our imagination as a fictional character.
Yeah, he's not
yeah,
real.
Yeah, he's not
yeah,
real. They didn't kill some actual guy.
No.
yeah. And also, like, people get really attached to fictional characters, especially if it's someone who's like your POV character, in a way where they are willing to like absolve them of, you know, guilt in bad shit that they do.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean like
Um,
everything else Joel's done throughout the
Like
series?
yeah.
for
Well,
Joel, yeah.
like, yeah, just as an example,
Joel
like,
specifically.
yeah, but like as an example, like Walter White in Breaking Bad. People love that character, and like probably the most hated character in the entire show. In a show where there are neo-Nazis that, murder children and lock people in holes, where there's, multiple drug-crazed, like murdering lunatics, where there are evil businessmen who, run criminal empires that, flood poison into the veins of millions. The number one character they hate most is Skylar White by the
Because
fandom.
So
because she
yeah,
wasn't supportive.
Yeah, and it's just like I mean,
yeah.
yeah, I don't think trying to sleep with Ted was like a great decision, on a moral level, but at the same time, I
There's
can't
child
really
kid.
Uh-huh.
blame her for
No.
being upset at an emotionally neglectful husband who is involved in increasingly horrible things,
Hmm.
bringing her family into danger, keeping secrets from her, and, like all these other horrible things.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's a strange fandom, maybe even stranger than The Last of Us.
Yeah. And like the
Um,
reason I bring it up here is because for Joel, this really is like the bill coming due. It
yeah.
is the karmic payout for the choice that he made,
Hmm.
which also sets up, the whole cycle of revenge that the game's, thematic point runs.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, he's very, in his last moments, he's very accepting of that as well, which,
Mm.
we see in the TV show. they've really translated that. Pedro Pascal really adapted that well.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pause.
Phenomenal.
Season two. How did you feel? How cautious did you feel going into it, knowing what you do now about Last of Us Part Two?
It's I I called it exactly where the season would end and what's going to happen with season three. Um, it's I knew that they would play like there would have to be a lot of huge moments that needed to be played out throughout the entire season from the game, like the porch scene.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like I remember like they showed it like in the first episode and like they just kind of skimmed right past it, and I'm like,
Mm.
what the hell? That's a super important moment. Why are we what?
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And then, like every other major plot points like from the game got mostly translated pretty well. And then of course we got the actual full porch scene and like
Yeah,
a
the last
non-linear editing style.
yeah last episode. That was a it's not a reveal, but that was a great scene between the two.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Going into it, I definitely felt pretty optimistic. I don't think season one was perfect, but I liked a lot of what they did. And I think, a lot of the time, a second season is an opportunity to grow and learn as you continue telling something. I think breaking up the second game's content into two parts made a lot of sense to me because one of my biggest gripes about the first season was the pacing of it is just because we had to move along through so many different set pieces. I don't feel like we got to see as much of the little moment to moment experiences and problem solving that you got in gameplay that really built up that relationship between Joel and Ellie, and just made that journey feel big and long and arduous. Whereas the show, it didn't sell me on a lot of that to the same level that the game did.
Yeah,
Um, and part of it was just, they had to rush through.
yeah.
We didn't really see them encounter all that many of the infected in season one outside of a couple episodes.
Mm-hmm.
To
Well,
be fair, in
Sparks
season two.
is a
Yeah,
lot more infected, a lot
yeah.
more.
I feel like a lot of the moments in season two, because of the changes they made, have had more time to breathe. And, you get to spend more time with these characters in different situations. And I really appreciate it. I still think the pacing is a little weird in some places because I don't mind sort of where we ended, where it's like, okay, now we're going to get the Abby perspective. But I feel like we saw so little of the conflict between the wolves and the Seraphites that unless you know what happens in the game, what happens in the last episode is just like, what the what? What's happening? What's going on? Like
Yeah,
Yep.
it
yeah,
feels really abrupt.
yeah. Full on spoilers if you wanna say.
Oh yeah, are we at the spoiler section now?
Oh yeah, we
I mean,
could. Yeah, we could.
I
It's been a week.
assume that if you're watching this podcast, you have a vague understanding of The Last of Us, but
I
don't
would
care about
hope.
Right.
spoilers.
Well,
I would
well,
hope.
the title is gonna be Last of Us 2 spoilers. So
Oh, all
Oh,
right,
oh,
good.
in
yeah,
that
Yeah.
case,
yeah,
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 that changes
exactly.
Oh yeah,
everything.
look at it right there in the outline
Yeah.
document.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
should have seen that.
No warning.
But
Yeah.
yeah, spoilers. So yeah, how it eventually turns into like season three is going to be Abby's playthrough for day one, day two, day three.
Mm,
Like, so my biggest problem with like the fact that it is an adaptation from the video game is that it's like we have to wait like another few years until we get season three, or
mm.
I don't know when season three was
Uh,
said to be launched. If is that been
yeah.
officially said?
I don't think it has been said to my knowledge.
Okay.
Not sure if
I'll
Um,
CJ.
take a look real quick.
Yeah, CJ, if you want to fact check me.
Yeah, I'm
but
checking
like
that
in
out.
when you're playing in the game, like there's so many like little moments that it's just like you didn't really pick up on it when you're playing as Ellie, but it's like, oh, now you're coming back on day one as Abby. Oh, now that makes sense.
Mm.
And like that's gonna be everything for like the entirety of what's going to happen for like season three. And like, but because there's going to be this few year time gap, you're not going to remember like every tiny little detail like you would for a video game when you, it's like, oh, I remember playing that scene earlier this morning. Like,
Hmm.
then like now it's going to be like, oh, so that's what that why everyone like left to go to the theater at that time at that like during day two. Oh, that oh, okay. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
without getting a sense of what else was going on, it just seemed like Abby just like beamed there. Like it was
yeah.
it
Yeah.
was abrupt and jarring in a way that didn't feel like, oh shit, we have been ambushed. It felt it like some pages in the script get stuck together here, like where
Yeah. What
Yeah.
like it
I
just
feel
felt
like
like we were missing something.
did I skip
Yeah.
on the HBO Max like 5 minutes or something?
Yeah,
Like th
yeah.
those
Like
of us who have played the game and know that this is how it's structured. Like
Yeah.
people who just like showed up because it's like, oh, I like, the show. I like Pedro Pascal. I'm gonna watch this show. Like people who've never played the game but just watched the TV show, like they're gonna be lost.
Yeah. No, and you guys
mhm.
probably did like multiple playthroughs too, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, you know where everything goes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was I don't dislike the choice, but the execution didn't like really land for me. It just, it felt really like jarringly abrupt in like a way that felt wrong and not like
Mm.
it's like trying to fuck with my brain.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was just not handled the best I felt should
Yeah,
have
it's
been, yeah, when she drops away.
definitely
Hmm.
definitely not the worst temporal editing I've seen in an adaptation of something I love recently, but
Okay.
I
It's
The Witcher,
Oh, okay. I'm not a
with
Witcher fan.
the Thanad coup like scene where they're teasing out the plot happening, and then they keep basically replaying the same stretch of time with
Mm.
more
yeah.
information coming out every like run through, and it's just like begins and ends with like a big ball scene where like people are literally singing "Everything is not as it seems," and I'm like,
It gets on my
fuck
fucking nerve.
off. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
stop. Like, these writers thought they were so fucking clever.
Yeah, they were yeah, they were sniffing their own supply.
Yeah, yeah. Inhaling deep.
Yeah. But
So,
Uh
yeah, it wasn't
I,
that bad,
no, yeah, I don't
but
think so.
this was also the last thing we saw in the season.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, speaking of like adaptation, like things lost it, like my divergent like points in the entire
Yes.
series.
Uh-huh.
Like, so it's a huge shift from the game because like I had to, I had to go back to make sure I wasn't like crazy or anything about this. But it even goes back to the first season. Like they kind of laid the groundworks for it, where it was like the beginning of the show, very first episode, it starts back in the 60s. And there's,
Mhm.
that scientist who's saying like, hey, the worst thing that would be possible if we had to deal with, some mushrooms taking over our brains, but that'll never happen. Why would that never happen? Oh, because if we were trying to make a vaccine, we would never have it would never work. And then like in the first season, we have that happen like several times throughout like different periods of like different like scientists saying like, yeah, there's no way we can make a vaccine. Like even to like the moment with this specific, like this specific infection, like yeah, there's no way possible like we can make a vaccine against these cordyceps. And like that just sort of like stuck with me that it's like because that kind of ruins like, the ambiguity of like the moment of it's like they're like, yeah, the Fireflies were willing to kill Ellie over like a 1 in a million shot. Like, would they actually be able to, make a vaccine using, killing her, cutting up in her brain for that 1 in a million chance? Are you willing to, kill a little girl to save the world? And
Yeah.
like that's the fundamental like idea of The Last of Us. And Yeah, no, Joel was not willing to take that 1 in a million chance. Like, fuck you. I already lost one daughter. I'm not going to lose a second.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
and that had so much weight to it. And like,
Mhm.
The choice he made.
because like, yeah, and even throwing in those like three little scenes back in the first season, like that just airs credence to the fact that maybe Joel's not that terrible of a guy.
I
And
sorry, go
like,
ahead.
yeah, the Fireflies, like, yeah, sure, they made it sound like they, would be able to, but then you remember those three scenes where it's like, oh no, they wouldn't have been able to do it.
Right.
If like the top scientists with like the top equipment, like with even the specific like variation of cordyceps, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah, it was very spotty at best,
Yeah,
but they were willing
Mhm.
to take that chance, which
Yeah,
which
especially
brings us to
because
season. Oh, sorry.
Mhm.
well, especially because Abby's dad,
Mm,
like from what we, learn of him in the game, which, might come up in season 3, he is specifically a surgeon.
hmm.
He's not,
He's not a virologist.
he's not a virologist, he's not a mycologist, he's, not a specialty in he's not specialized in any of the fields of expertise that you would need to create a vaccine. But ultimately, to
Especially not in a
me,
rinky-dink like hospital in Salt
yeah,
Lake City.
yeah. But to me, one of the things about this was that whether or not it would work doesn't matter diegetically because we're coming at this from Joel's perspective.
Exactly.
The
It's that one in a
only
million chance.
Yeah. And like even if it was a guaranteed certainty that they could do it, Joel would do the exact same fucking thing.
Which brings
Yeah.
us to season two on the porch scene. I had to like replay this game just to see this moment where like in yeah, like where in the show she asks like was there a chance? And like Joel's like yeah, it would have worked. There would have been, like they would have been able to save the world and they would have had to kill you, but I wasn't willing to make that decision. That's not in the game. That's
No, it's
just in
not.
the show.
Mhm.
There's that just ruins all ambiguity because like in the game with that decision, like there is no good guys, there is no bad guys because like yeah, Joel was willing to kill, these people who wanted to kill a little girl. But because he killed, all those people, one of those people happened to be, Abby's dad, and she spent the next 5 years just like getting swole as fuck with just one thing on her mind is I'm gonna murder this guy named Joel because to her perspective, her dad was the good guy, and this murderous rampaging hobo just comes up and just murders everyone in the hospital who could have saved the world
Potentially.
because there was that ambiguity. She would have thought her dad was the hero, and this villain comes along. Like she was doing the right thing all along in her own mind. Like Ellie, like seeing Abby murder Joel, like that's her surrogate father figure, and she just sees this rampaging murder hobo just show up and kill her dad with a golf club. In her mind, Joel is the good guy, Abby is the villain, and there's all this ambiguity because it's never for certain.
It adds a
Like
lot to it, a
it
lot of
adds a
texture.
lot to it. But now that we do have that confirmation that it's like even Joel just flat out says, "Oh yeah, no, they would have done it. Like I wasn't willing to sacrifice you." That because of that, now Joel is the bad guy. Like in Ellie's eyes, because Joel says that to her, Ellie now sees Joel as the bad guy. And I mean, there's spoilers for season three. Like eventually, when like Ellie and Abby finally have like their final confrontation and like yeah, and on the island, Catalina Island. Like when they can finally, have that moment, now that's gonna be ruined because there's no more ambiguity where they can both like say like, am I the bad guy? No, are you the bad guy? No, I, okay, we're both in the wrong. My bad.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Say hi to Lev for me.
I also think that like the writing of this season
Mhm.
feels much more interested in assigning like moral weight to people's actions than the game did. Like it feels like people's choices are being judged by the narrative in a much more explicit way.
Yes.
And
Mm.
I don't like that.
Yeah, it's
Like it,
it's
Yeah.
it's more cookie cutter, like black and white.
yeah, it ruins the ambiguity, but it also just kind of feels like, okay, this is our point of view character, and you're going out of your way to have all these like heartwarming moments that make me care, and then you're saying, oh yeah, no, she's a liar and she's doing, stupid things and all this and that. And it's just like, okay, do you want me to take her side or not? Because like I'm fine with characters being morally complex. I really liked Joel in the original game,
Me
despite the
too.
fact that I think he's, in many ways, a really terrible person.
Yeah.
Um, and he, acts very selfishly over and over again.
But it's also the apocalypse. He kind of has to.
Yeah, exactly. And, basically the game lets you make your own choice on, you know, basically like what you think of him as a person, even though he is your main character here. Whereas it feels like in this game, like this version of the story, they're way more interested in telling you, no, this is the correct choice and this is the bad one, as opposed to letting the consequences of these actions playing out
Mm.
make that obvious in hindsight while also letting the fact that this is a repeating cycle here, you know, and impulsive decisions happening being, being the foreshadowing that you need to be like, oh, this isn't gonna go well. It does feel like they're really hammering the moral judgment more in this version.
Hmm.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, hammering that, and yeah, that just yeah, I don't think it could have been done as well as it could. I mean, yeah, I just wish that I don't know. Yeah, it was more ambiguous. Just could have could have been a lot different, I would say.
Nothing was set in stone in the game, and
Yeah.
that's what kind of worked because, like, yeah, you don't know who's the bad guy. Was
Yeah,
Abby the bad guy? Was Joel the bad guy? Is Ellie the bad guy for, spending this
Yeah,
entire time?
or they
yeah.
both could
Is
be.
the Colts definitely the bad guys?
Yeah.
Uh,
The whole backdrop for this game is, oh,
the end of the
you
world.
thought you understood what this situation was. No, 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 no. There's a whole other side to this story, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's well said.
And it's
But
like, I mean, that's also, yeah, that's the theme of everything. It's what you would do if you were The Last of Us. Roll credits.
He said the thing.
but yeah, that's well, that kind of leads us into the next topic of uh little rocky this season, but they still have another season hopefully to steer the ship in the right direction. Um because I want to say they did only like half the game this
Yeah,
season, right?
basically.
Yeah, basically half the game. Any speculation on season three, which is it's still going to be part two that they're adapting?
Yeah, it's still, well, let's be fair. If they wanted to be, the biblically accurate Last of Us season three, it would actually be the remaster of the first season. They would just they would just refilm the entirety of the first
Yeah,
season,
yeah.
just
Or they could do
print it
like
back out.
they could do like a George Lucas thing and just add CGI in the background.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, things
Just get the
passing through.
banthas just like
Yeah,
randomly
just
walk
Yeah.
across the screen.
just cut a musical number in right before the hospital scene.
Jedi
Like,
rocks. But I feel with Abby her storyline coming up, Caitlin Denver's gonna have a lot of time to shine, and I really enjoyed, excuse me, I was really enjoying her as Abby. So
yeah,
I think that she's going to do some interesting character work on it. So I'm at least looking forward to that, all things considered. I know there were
yeah.
some criticisms that you guys both had. So
I think getting to see her side of the story is going to be, an interesting counterpoint, and I think it's going to fill in a lot of the blanks. But I think doing it this way, you're going to have to sort of balance where you're seeing things coming together. Otherwise, it's going to feel like a retread, like it's, spinning its wheels a little bit, even though you're technically getting new information. So I'm a little worried about that, like structurally. Um,
I yeah, because there's also gonna have to be a lot of moments where it's like they're just gonna have to show the exact scenes from season two and season three, where it's like, oh, that's what that setup was. Because yeah,
Right.
like I said,
yeah,
people are gonna forget all about the little moments.
Yeah,
yeah,
depending on when they air the season two, it won't be as fresh in people's minds. If it's 2 years from now.
yeah. It's gonna be a minute because they've like basically either just started filming or they're going to be filming soon.
Yeah.
I've seen kind of like two interviews that are a little conflicting.
Mm,
Um,
interesting.
so
Yeah,
it is, I think one of the other things that's going to be interesting for me to see is we're going to get to see more of the Seraphites and their whole deal explored, which is cool because I think they did a really good job of making them fucking scary
Yeah,
in
yes.
that was like a like one of those like jump scares almost
yeah,
seeing them like sacrifice all those people.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it definitely you're like, oh man. Um,
We're finally
but
gonna get Lev.
yeah, we're gonna get Lev. I'm excited for Lev. Um,
I once again, I the internet backlash to Bella Ramsey over anything.
Oh,
The internet, like how we saw everybody even go after Laura Bailey, like the voice actress of Abby from the video game. They're gonna go so hard on Caitlin Dever next season. And I pray to God, whoever they, cast for Lev has all the protection in the world. Because
yeah,
this world is fucking gross sometimes.
yeah.
especially considering who
If we
Lev
get
is.
we
Like,
need we also do need the actual trans representation
Mhm,
of an actual trans boy
yeah,
playing the
mhm.
character.
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
And like just the atmosphere that we have right now, that sort of visibility just tends to get you fucking lost if you are a trans person.
Yeah.
It was gross a few years ago. It's kind of gotten worse since then.
Yeah.
Oh, it absolutely
Yeah.
has.
Yeah.
So I'm 100% with you on that. I'm also very interested to see how they handle that final act,
Hmm.
The Catalina
the
Island.
Catalina Island part of it, because honestly,
It's
for
Catalina
me,
wine mixer.
the fucking Catalina wine mixer. Uh, but for me, one of the problems that I had with sort of how the game finished was it felt like we played out this conflict to a conclusion, and then we stopped, and then the world continued, and then it's like, okay, let's just speed run to round two of this fight. So it
Hmm.
just ends up feeling kind of redundant and like,
Yeah.
it didn't really work for me just because it's like, okay, well, we had a moment where we could have ended on this poignant note of like not being satisfied because you didn't do the thing, but ultimately, made the right choice. Or we can have you make, the other choice, go in, burn everything for the sake of revenge, but have that all happen in such a truncated period of time that it just, it feels like so much of the air got let out of the balloon, like before, you kind of got to build to that emotional height again.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I would
Yeah,
agree.
that's gonna be weird for storytelling from a storytelling perspective as well. Because
Again, like
yeah.
my big thing, like my biggest complaint about this show has always been its pacing has like robbed the weight from the moments they're trying to portray. And this is a situation where, to me, the game's pacing already messed up that moment in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it's a little flawed, I would say.
Yeah,
So good luck adapting that.
yeah. Um, I will also be interested to see what they do with Dina because
Hmm.
they gave her an expanded role in this season compared to sort of like how much direct character info we got for her in the game. Um, and I appreciate spending more time with her, though, like some of the changes they made to her backstory were like, okay, so you've tied this into the revenge theme a little more strongly. And I don't know how I feel about her being, both an accelerator and a brake to the revenge quest at the same time.
Hmm.
Um, and also, like, they really kind of like emphasize the love triangle between, uh, you know, Dina and Ellie and Jesse because it felt like in the game it was kind of a done deal that she and Jesse were just like, yeah, the pregnancy happened, but we're just not a thing anymore. And like, I want you to be in my life as a friend, and also like this is your kid, but this is kind of done.
Yeah.
So it feels like they amped that up for more dramatic tension.
It was very
And
That
I
doesn't
teen
need to be
romancy.
there. It's the
Very
end of
teen
the world.
romance.
There's enough tension.
yeah,
She's
and
pregnant and like the wolves are surrounding her literally and
yeah,
figuratively.
yeah. And also it just a lot of it just felt really fucking clunky. Like it felt like a dude trying to write a bi teenager,
Mm.
figuring that out for herself, which, you know, not always the perspective that is the most enlightened, I think.
No.
Um, and yeah, I just kind of wonder how they will utilize her as a character
Mm.
in the next season because they gave her this expanded role, because they're going to make, Jesse's, it feels like Jesse's death is going to be more of an emotionally affecting thing for her because of the extra, like, for her and Ellie, just because of the extra sort of emphasis placed on that relationship. Um, and because Dina in this version of the story is more focused on revenge, I wonder how that's going to change the context of her like conversation with Ellie before Ellie's like, nah, that motherfucker doesn't live and goes to try and track her down the second time.
Right.
Hmm.
Because that could be a very different situation.
Yeah.
And it could be for better or worse,
Yeah. Hopefully for better. Hopefully for
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
Because
I would like to enjoy this show without
yeah,
any
it's
reservations.
been tough out there with some of the other fans. Yeah.
I mean, I'm a Warhammer 40K fan, a Star Wars fan, and a Superman fan.
Oh man.
I'm used to people not being able to be fucking normal.
You've seen some stuff
I,
on
I'm
there.
just I'm just saying, come to the Star Trek fandom. Like people are normal there.
Oh, I
Yeah.
mean, I've been there too, but
Oh,
like,
I'll
I,
talk about the audience listening right now.
yeah,
Yes.
but
CJ, you and I have had so many conversations about Star Trek.
yes, but also there are plenty of Star Trek weirdos too.
Well, the Star Trek weirdos are so much more contained than Star Wars weirdos.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
the
Yeah.
grifter tourists, like you don't get tourists of Star Trek, is what I'm
No.
saying.
No, I don't think so.
No one's going, I just don't think Gul Dukat would allow this.
Yeah. Yeah. But
Uh,
wrapping up, any other thoughts on this last season?
I really digged the action.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna throw it out there. fucking loved everyone on the stunt coordination team,
Mhm.
everyone on the set decoration team. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Uh,
Phenomenal job.
Yeah.
the lighting too. There's so many
Mhm.
scenes where like it's supposed to be dark and like dingy, but like it's just enough lighting where you can see everything
That you
perfectly.
need to
Like,
see. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
like there's so many like nowadays, like so many cinematographers and gaffers just like, just underexpose everything, but you can't see shit. Like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Got that
it,
Marvel lighting.
yeah, they got that Marvel lighting. They got that final seasons of Game of Thrones lighting.
I
Like
mean,
it
apparently that was the color grader and not the cinematographer, but like, who
uh
knows who's actually to blame?
still
Yeah,
the
yeah. It
the
it they did it right here.
they did it perfectly. So like I know that probably none of the cast or crew are watching this podcast. They should,
Yeah.
but if like holy crap, hats off to everyone
Yeah.
working
Shout out to
behind
them.
the scene on this
Yeah.
show.
All of the as you said, the set deck, the effects, practical and digital, the cinematography, like every sort of technical visual element of this show is beautiful.
Phenomenal.
The performances are great. The like everything is so strong in those moments of action. The tension is really high. Um, I also really liked how they've kind of made, even though they took out like the Rat King, they've been like, oh, here's a new evolution
Hmm.
of the cordyceps in both now you have the spores reintroduced after they were kind of, taken out of season one.
Right.
And you also have stalkers being a new thing that showed up and have people going, oh, what the fuck is that? So
Yeah.
you feel like, the world is becoming a darker and more dangerous place in the background
Hmm.
while all of this, human drama that is ultimately, you know, not going to help prevent, humanity from dying out
Yeah. Yeah.
is happening. And I think if you tease that thread out more, you could do something that is very different from the game in season three, but could be a really interesting wrinkle.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I would. Yeah, that's well put. Erica, any last thoughts?
Uh, yeah, the blizzard in episode one was actually a live blizzard that they actually filmed in
Yeah,
the actual
Holy crap.
Jackson,
yeah,
That's
Wyoming.
yeah,
right. That's right.
yeah.
Like that was all practical. Like they shot it on location, in actual Jackson, Wyoming.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
again, hats off to the cast and crew.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's
Like
nice to see shit happening on sets, on
yeah,
locations,
Yeah.
and
Especially.
just
Yeah. No green screen.
yeah.
No
Well,
green
I
yeah.
screen.
like, yeah, I don't mind effects, but ultimately, shit is
It
going to look more real and have more detail and give your actors more things to work with. There's just going to be a greater level of verisimilitude if you use real things.
Yeah. Yeah.
like
That's it.
it's like acts to this tennis ball or act to this, this model we made.
Mm.
Yeah. That's well said. So I think I would agree. But yeah, guys, where can people find you at? We're just kind of wrapping up pretty quick right now for social
All
media.
right.
Anything you want to promote as well?
You guys can find me at Eric Milzarski on Twitter, uh, currently known as X, Blue Sky, Insta, all of that. Or you can find me at Eric the Mage on YouTube. I just dropped my most recent video on Marvel Rivals and how the character goals that they have will be unsustainable in the long term.
And that is a good video that you all should watch. I don't really do as much content creation. I'm more of a behind the scenes kind of guy. So, my socials are kind of boring. You could follow me at the_rage_nerd on Twitter. I am mostly just memeing about media and talking politics. So that's not your cup of tea. Save yourself the anxiety. Like,
Uh, I think yeah, I think our viewers would like it though.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, all the viewers would love CJ.
Yeah. But guys, thank you so much for being on. I really appreciate making the time. This is a really
Thank you
Uh,
for having us.
Yeah,
yeah,
pleasure to be here, man.
yeah, you guys brought up some great points. It was a very hearty discussion. I feel like I learned some new stuff about The Last of Us, so
Oh,
I was
beautiful games, beautiful
yeah,
show.
always
Great.
glad to talk nerdy stuff with you. But yeah, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram, G9892. You could follow the Waffle Press at the Waffle Press Podcast on Instagram, at the Waffle Press on Twitter, or on iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, and YouTube. Please like, share, subscribe. If there's something you don't like it anyway. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We've been professionally unprofessional.